Video games need no real introduction, at least not for anyone who might have found this video. Most of you are also aware of the weird world that surrounds video games, especially in the days before widespread internet access. Myths, urban legends, and rumors are just as much a part of the video game culture as the video games themselves, and the histories of those stories are fascinating rabbit holes to dive down. You're also all probably familiar with iceberg charts, but in case you're not, here's the general idea. At the top of the iceberg are the most well-known entries, the bottom of the iceberg is the most obscure. Because this is a video games, myths, and legend iceberg, the top tier will probably be things that pretty much anyone has heard of if you've been around the internet a little while. Once you get down a little further, these might become more and more obscure, culminating in some of the most obscure or possibly some of the strangest video game myths and legends. This iceberg chart was found on icebergcharts.com. I'll link the chart down below. Tier 1. Herobrine. We're starting off with a big one. Herobrine is the name of an entity that supposedly appears in Minecraft, showing up in games of his own accord. The original creepypasta was posted in 2010 to 4chan's X-Board, which is a place for paranormal, horror, and other mystery content. It details someone's encounter with a mysterious second player in their solo Minecraft server, who would run from them whenever they approached and left small structures scattered throughout their game. When the player tried to ask about Herobrine in Minecraft forums online, they found their posts deleted, and they received a warning from a user named Herobrine. This warning told them to stop posting. The user was noticed and contacted by another individual who had formed a community of those who had seen Herobrine. This community had traced the mystery player back to a Swedish gamer, who was then identified to be the creator of Minecraft's brother. When the user reached out to Notch, the creator of Minecraft, about this, Notch replied that he did have a brother, but that he was no longer with us. This story gained popularity later that same month as the streamer Copeland modded an in-game painting into a picture of Herobrine and then scared his chat with an unexpected encounter. From there, Herobrine took off, and has spawned countless edits, mods, stories, and other media devoted to the idea of an unknown entity existing in Minecraft. The official word on the story is, and has always been, that Herobrine is a hoax, but Herobrine is often mentioned as a joke in official art and changelogs. Bigfoot in GTA San Andreas. GTA San Andreas was a game released in 2004, published by Rockstar Games as part of their Grand Theft Auto series. Like other GTA games, San Andreas was ambitious and featured a large open world in which the story took place, and the player could explore, take on missions, and generally have fun living a life of crime in the various available cities. The game was a massive success, even if it had a bit of controversy with the old hot coffee incident. But the discovery of hidden game code, along with the massive open world, fueled rumors that there was more to find lurking in San Andreas. Specifically, players began to report tales of finding a creature deep in the forest, Bigfoot. Tales of sightings varied to an extent, but most included encounters deep in the wild area of Backo Beyond. Players reported seeing dark figures and generally agreed that these creatures would run away if approached. Others were skeptical of these stories, and the active modding community complicated things, as Bigfoot could easily be added to the game through mods, making it difficult to verify any potential real sightings. Although there are several in-game references to Bigfoot, there's never been any evidence of Bigfoot in the game files themselves, despite the best efforts of people looking through the code. L is Real 2401. L is Real 2401 is an unusual case of a video game urban legend that turned out to be true. In Super Mario 64, the courtyard contains a seemingly useless statue with a difficult-to-read inscription. There were two main thoughts as to what it says. One was that it said Eternal Star, the other was that it said L is Real 2401. L is Real was taken to be a clue that Luigi existed in the game somewhere, and for a long time fans tried to figure out how to unlock him. But despite the best efforts of the community, Luigi could never be found, and official responses from Nintendo denied the existence of Luigi in the game. Then, July 25th, 2020, a massive leak of files from Nintendo were released to the internet. Within that leak, files confirming the original inclusion of Luigi were found, confirming that the L is Real 2401 believers hadn't believed in vain. Missingno. Missingno, M-Block, and a few other names all refer to a particular glitch that can occur in Pokemon Blue and Red. Getting Missingno to appear is not at all intuitive, but it isn't difficult to pull off once you know what you're doing. It involves speaking to the old man in Viridian City, watching his demonstration about catching Pokemon, and then flying to Cinnabar Island and surfing its coastline. Doing this causes all sorts of weird Pokemon to occur, and if you're patient, you'll eventually run into one of the Missingno family Pokemon. The different versions of Missingno are similar, but have some variations when it comes to details. Their names are slightly different, the sound of their cries is different, and they use different sprites. They cause a variety of odd things to happen in the game, such as the famous duplication glitch, in which the item in the 6th slot of your bag is increased by 128, making this a very useful glitch, as well as the Hall of Fame corruption glitch, which is a little less useful. If you're curious about how the Missingno glitch occurs to begin with, there are much better explanations out there than I can give. However, the very basic gist of it is that when you watch the old man's demonstration, your character's name is temporarily replaced with Old Man. While that's happening, your character's name is saved into the slot normally used for encountering Pokemon. And if you go to Cinnabar's Coast, you can trigger Pokemon encounters based on your character's name. Different names, or more specifically different characters and names, cause different versions of Missingno to appear. Mew Under the Truck. In the late 90s, every kid knew that you could find Mew under the truck near the SS Ain if you could only push the truck out of the way. The problem is that this was impossible, though that didn't stop people from spreading stories about different methods to pull it off. The ability to hack Mew into existence using the Game Shark only gave more evidence to the idea that Mew was attainable. This belief was incredibly widespread, and personally, I could have sworn I read about it in a magazine such as Nintendo Power at one point, but despite my best efforts, I haven't been able to track down a source for this. However, if it was in a magazine like that, that could explain why it was such a far-reaching rumor that nearly everyone had heard of. Sadly, there was no real truth to the truck myth, and you could only gain Mew in Red or Blue through an official giveaway or through use of the Game Shark, until a particular glitch was discovered several years later in 2003. Minus World. In the original Super Mario Bros. For the NES, there's a particular category of glitches called a wrong warp. Wrong warps are basically exactly what they sound like, in that you can trick some locations that would normally warp you somewhere into taking you to the wrong place. Minus World is a particular level that can be reached through a wrong warp in World 1-2 and shows up as World -1. In actuality, Minus World is World 36-1, but since the 36 doesn't display, you just get left with the last bit. The Minus World in the North American version of Super Mario Bros. Is a copy of World 7-2, but the pipe at the end of the level that would normally take Mario to the flag instead warps him back to the beginning of the level, making the level unbeatable. In the Japanese Famicom version, however, there are 3 stages in Minus World. -1 can be completed, and the player can continue on to -2 and -3. This is due to a difference in the way the Famicom discs store information when compared to the typical cartridge. E.T. Atari Landfill. In 1982, what is widely considered to be one of the worst video games ever made was released. E.T. the Extraterrestrial for the Atari system. This game was so bad that only 1 million of the 4 million copies needed to break even were sold, and of those that were sold, many were returned for how terrible the game was. This wasn't entirely the fault of the developers, as they were given only 5 weeks to make an entire video game, but due to a perfect storm of bad decisions all around, the game was a total failure. A year later, during the video game crash of 1983, Atari needed to clear out some of its warehouses, and so decided to dump the contents into a landfill. The games were crushed and buried, and then later covered in concrete. In 2014, an excavation of the site turned up a variety of video game cartridges, including the famous E.T. game, and one of the recovered E.T. cartridges is now in the Smithsonian Museum's archives, where it belongs. Blowing into cartridges. If you have no idea what this entry is about, I'm happy for you. This was a terrible time in video games. Blowing into cartridges refers to the common belief that if you blew into the video game cartridge before putting it into the system, it would work better. The idea behind this was that it might clear out any of the dust on the sensors. Nowadays, it's believed that the success of blowing into cartridges was placebo or confirmation bias, and instead that blowing on them could actually damage the connectors by causing them to corrode more quickly. Lavender Town Syndrome. Lavender Town Syndrome may be one of the most famous creepypastas out there, for good reason. It's a good story, and it's based on something that's already very eerie. In the first generation of Pokemon, Lavender Town is one of the locations you travel to in your journey across Kanto, and it introduces the idea of ghost-type Pokemon. Lavender Town contains Pokemon Tower, a place to memorialize Pokemon that have passed on, and within the tower is the only place where you can catch ghost-type Pokemon. In Lavender Town itself, a creepy yet cheerful song plays, and this song is the center of the story of the Lavender Town Syndrome. The story goes that in the very original versions of Red and Green, released only in Japan, there was a version of the Lavender Town theme that contained high frequencies that could only be heard by children and by young teens due to the natural hearing loss of higher frequencies as a person ages. These frequencies supposedly caused illnesses and even suicide. Before the game was recalled, the music was edited, and the game was released as the version we know now. However, there's no evidence this ever happened, and so for now the story remains an urban legend. Hidden Palace Zone. Hidden Palace Zone is a level that was cut from Sonic the Hedgehog 2, a 1992 game on Sega systems. The original hints of its existence came from promotional images shown before the game's release, as well as a music file called Sound Test 10 that didn't appear in the game itself. Investigation of the game files revealed that the Hidden Palace Zone did exist, but was an unplayable, garbled mess. This changed when a leaked demo version of Sonic the Hedgehog 2 was posted online, and this version contained a much more complete and playable Hidden Palace Zone. Later, in the 2013 remaster of Sonic the Hedgehog 2 for Android and iOS, the Hidden Palace Zone was included in its finished playable form. Diablo 2 Secret Cow Level. The Diablo series has long had a strange relationship with cows. In the very first Diablo game, a herd of cows hung out in a field, partaking in the usual cow pastime of doing nothing. The seemingly pointless inclusion, especially in 1997 when games didn't typically waste a lot of time and memory on things that didn't add to the game in some way, prompted a rumor that this herd of cows held the key to a secret cow level. How you accessed the supposed level varied from story to story, but typically involved clicking on a particular cow a ridiculous number of times. Sadly, this wasn't true and there was no secret cow level. Still, this rumor was beloved both by fans and the developers of Diablo alike, and so Diablo 2 included a real secret cow level, in which you fight a horde of cow monsters led by the Cow King. Diablo 3 has also had various cow-centric bonuses scattered about over its long run, cow jokes have continued to show up in Blizzard's other games, and Diablo 4 will almost certainly have some sort of cow-related content when it hopefully comes out sometime in the next 2 decades. Shooting the Duck Hunt Dog. As a wee child, one of my earliest memories is playing Duck Hunt on the NES, shooting ducks out of the sky with the gray and bright orange light gun. Even now, I'm a little sad that light guns aren't really a thing anymore, because it was very fun to play with one, at least when I wasn't doing the clay shooting mode. But as anyone who's played or seen Duck Hunt played knows, missing a shot causes the supposedly helpful bird dog hiding in the bushes to pop up and laugh at you, like he could do any better. This needless rudeness has led to the Duck Hunt dog being hated amongst almost everyone with an opinion on Duck Hunt, and many wish that they could shoot the dog with the light gun, but doing so had no effect. Or did it? As it turns out, the version of Duck Hunt most people are familiar with is the 1988 version, which came in a combo cartridge with Super Mario Bros. But there was another version, from 1984. In this version of the game, there was a bonus round in which the dog would jump out with the ducks, and you could, of course accidentally, shoot the dog instead. This caused an instant game over, and also might have been a sin, but it probably felt great. As a side note, the VR game Duck Season does allow you to shoot the dog, and so you can go live out your dreams and whatever consequences may result. Ocarina of Triforce. In 1998, the Zelda game Ocarina of Time came out for the N64. It was and still is an incredible game, and the new era of gaming brought by the N64, combined with the epic and eerie feel of Ocarina of Time, as well as its even creepier 2000 sequel Majora's Mask, led to a ton of fan speculation, rumors, and stories that continue to this day. It also led to one particular hoax that I believe this entry is referring to, in which a player claimed to find the Triforce hidden in Ocarina of Time. In 1999, a player calling themselves Ariana posted to a fan site called Hyrule: The Legend of Zelda, claiming to have found the Triforce. She included with her story a very convincing-looking screenshot of the discovery, leading to a frenzy of speculation. Was this a new discovery? Something from a beta of the game? An altered or modded cartridge? Just an edited screenshot? Ariana wasn't telling, and she continued to string other users along for about a month, dropping other hints about how to find the Triforce, including an image of Link learning an entirely new song called The Overture of Sages. But this screenshot was a little less convincing than the one of the Triforce, and combined with the cagey nature of Ariana's explanations, more and more people became convinced that this was in fact a hoax. Eventually, Ariana confirmed it, pulling the whole "it was a social experiment" card, and putting a boring end to the mystery. For a more elaborate and actually fun mystery, Ben Drowned is a Majora's Mask-based ARG that wasn't included on this Iceberg, but if you're unfamiliar with it, it's well worth checking out. Pokeball button mashing. As all good old-school Pokemon players know, hitting a particular combination of buttons will definitely increase your catch rate, and that particular combination of buttons is also definitely down plus B. Anyone telling you otherwise is a liar and wants you to fail so that you have to trade with them. I'm joking, but most of us know this particular rumor. Hitting a combination of buttons, or even interacting with your game's microphone, will supposedly increase your chance of catching a Pokemon. It's unclear where this legend started, but much like the Mew Truck legend, I'm pretty sure I saw it in a magazine. It probably originated before that, however. There are several versions of this myth, and so everyone you ask may have a different set of buttons they believe to be the best. And the more recent games that run on systems with microphones have their own associated rumors of how to increase catch rates. Unfortunately, at the end of the day, it's all placebo effect, and the Pokemon catch rate is not affected by anything external such as button pressing. The Mount Chiliad Mystery. GTA 5 came out in 2013, and even today its open world remains one of the most massive and detailed sandboxes in video games. Additionally, because GTA 5 is continuously updated, mysteries and urban legends are often given new life. The Mount Chiliad Mystery is much too elaborate for me to cover in detail here, but it involves possible secret locations on the mountain. A map exists in the cable car station at the top of the mountain, showing several symbols such as the all-seeing eye, an egg, a jetpack, and a UFO. Supposedly this map leads to locations where secrets could be discovered, and there have been many attempts to find them to varying levels of success. In 2017, the Doomsday Heist was released for Rockstar Online, and it included a jetpack. This seemingly connects it to the Mount Chiliad mystery, but other portions of the map are still unexplained. Doug Rattmann. To be honest, I wasn't completely sure what this was referring to, so please forgive me if I got it wrong. Doug Rattmann is a character from the Portal series, working as a scientist at Aperture Science. He's the only known survivor of GLaDOS' poisoning of the other scientists, and sets in motion the events of Portal by making sure that Shell would be the first test subject. As Shell explores the factory, she can find evidence of Rattmann's presence, finding locations he's hidden out in, as well as secret messages, including the famous warning that the cake is a lie. His fate is unknown in Portal 2, with some points for and against the idea that he survived, but Shell can continue to find other abandoned hiding spots and messages that he presumably wrote during the time of Portal. Hell Valley Skytrees. Hell Valley Skytrees is the name of a very weird texture that can be seen in Super Mario Galaxy 2, in the levels Shiverburn Galaxy and in Grandmaster Galaxy. If you look off into the distance in a particular place in Grandmaster Galaxy, or from anywhere in Shiverburn Galaxy, you can see 4 shadowy figures that never appear anywhere else in the game and are never explained. When the game files were looked into, the texture file was found to be named Hell Valley Skytrees, hence the name of this legend. Nothing more is known about why this file was included or what the figures were supposed to be, although there's some speculation that they're simply meant to be Japanese tree spirits called Kodama. Lumiose City Ghost. In Pokemon X and Y, there's a particular building in Lumiose City that contains what appears to be a ghost. Stepping off the elevator on the second floor of the building causes the lights to flash, before a girl appears and says, "No, you're not the one," and then she glides away. She appears in another area, standing against the wall, and when you talk to her there, she says she's listening for the elevator. The same girl appears in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, lurking both in Mount Pyre and in the desert, and her presence is similarly mysterious in both locations. In the desert, she asks you if you used a strange power, like she did, to get here, while in Mount Pyre, she repeats her line from X and Y that, "No, you're not the one." There are many fan theories on who this girl is, but it's all speculation, and the mystery of the ghost girl is still unsolved. Mario Party Anti-Piracy Screens. This legend refers to a video which supposedly shows a very eerie anti-piracy screen, seen when playing Mario Party DS. Anti-piracy features in games aren't terribly unusual, and many real examples of them exist, so the video posted by Joey Perleone was originally believed to be very creepy but very real. However, it turns out the whole video was a hoax, just a very well made one. As a side note, an entire community exists dedicated to creating these sorts of anti-piracy screens. Some of them are very, very cool, and some of them are very, very creepy, so if you like this sort of thing, definitely go check them out. Petscop. Petscop exists in a very interesting area of video game media, because although the story it tells is fake, Petscop itself is not. The game was actually created and programmed by Tony Domenico in order to tell a surreal horror story through the medium of a lost video game. Petscop is far too long and complicated to get into with any depth here, but the general idea is that a man named Paul finds an obscure PlayStation 1 game, which at first glance appears to be a little weird but not completely out of the realm of possibility for that era. But as he explores further, he finds that this game hides a second and far more mysterious game underneath. The pseudo Let's Play series follows Paul as he explores the game in more depth, trying to uncover its secrets. Although the game itself isn't truly a lost, creepy game, and instead was created just to tell this story, that story is still worth checking out if you're a fan of slow burn indie horror series. Polybius. Polybius is an urban legend about a mysterious arcade cabinet that appeared in Portland, Oregon in 1981. The story goes that the game was advanced for its time in terms of graphics, and that it was highly addictive to players who then often suffered headaches, nausea, and even hallucinations. This game was regularly serviced by men in suits, who appeared mysteriously to check the game cabinet, but seemed only interested in the game data rather than the money that the cabinet had made. A month after the game appeared, it disappeared from the few locations it had been placed in, and no trace of the game has ever been found again. The whole tale of Polybius and the investigations into its origins are fascinating, so if you're interested in the details, definitely check out Ahoy's mini-doc, Polybius, the video game that doesn't exist, as well as the Red Web Podcast's episode on Polybius, and the Polybius Conspiracy, a series which ran on Showcase. I'll just be giving a very short overview of this mystery here. Polybius' first documented mention is on the website CoinOp, a site devoted to cataloging arcade games, and it appeared on February 4th, 2000. There, users discussed their experiences with the game, including potential conversations as far back as 1996 on Usenet, though there's no actual evidence of this. In 2006, a user named Stephen Roach claimed to have been one of the developers of Polybius, claiming that his team had been hired to do the production and coding, but that they weren't in charge of the game design or what happened to it after it was published. However, CoinOp itself disputed this, claiming Stephen Roach was lying. Neither side has ever offered any proof for their claims. Generally, it's believed that this game never existed, and was instead a misremembering of several events such as a raid on an arcade conducted by the FBI in the 80s that was unrelated to Polybius, some groundbreaking games like Tempest and Cube Quest, and a mystery that circulated on Usenet called the Publius Enigma. With nearly 20 years between the time of Polybius and the first discussions on CoinOp, it's easy to believe that memories may have become distorted, leading to the mysterious story of Polybius. And there you have it. That's Tier 1, some of the most well-known of the myths and urban legends. If y'all enjoyed this and you would like the later tiers, please let me know. Thank you for sticking around this far. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see y'all in the next one. Thanks for watching.